So for those who might be hesitant because maybe you've seen church services where it just seems like we're worshiping America and Jesus just takes a back seat. No, we don't want that. But then there are others who are hesitant from maybe a different perspective, and those would be the people who think, is America so compromised, so badly broken that there's nothing left to celebrate? And I don't think that's the case either. And so hopefully by the time we're through, we'll be able to think better about both of those positions and recognize that there's still so much to be grateful for, and that there's a right and necessary place for thinking in a Christian manner about our status as Americans. So in thinking about which texts to turn to in light of all those thoughts, I was reminded of this quote from Dr. LeConte. In a way no ancient text had contemplated, the letter to the Romans introduced two great themes into the bloodstream of the West: human equality and human freedom. No ideas in the history of political thought would prove more transformative and ennobling. The things that we take for granted, the things about which we'll have more to say in just a few minutes, that are enshrined in the Declaration, we sometimes assume that's just the way people are. Everybody is devoted to these universal human values. But it's not the case. To live in a nation that values human equality and human freedom was the hard-won inheritance of centuries of Christianity. And so you can draw a direct line from Paul's letter to the Romans to the American founding and the blessings of liberty and prosperity we've enjoyed as Americans. This, by the way, is in contrast to Barack Obama's claim when he was running back in 2008. You remember that? And he was arguing for the good, appropriate Christian perspective on pursuing homosexual civil unions. And at that time, even on the left, they weren't yet advocating for gay marriage. They were saying that's a separate thing, but of course there should be civil unions and we shouldn't have any moral objection to this. And he was asked by a pastor, I believe, but what about what Paul says to the Romans about homosexuality being a sin? And he said, well, I would just direct you to the Sermon on the Mount, and I would say that that's a lot more central than an obscure passage in the book of Romans. So wrong on several levels, but also discounting the fact that there's nothing obscure about the book of Romans, and far from it. Without the book of Romans, there would be no America in which to run for president.